Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Preeti Kaur. Coming up in the next 30 minutes, multiple dead after huge earthquake hits Japan on the New Year's Day. Many spent night in shelters. Tsunami warning downgraded to advisory. Israel's Supreme Court overturns judicial reform law. 8 out of 15 judges rule against the law. On his first South India visit in the new year, Prime Minister Narendra Modi attends 38th convocation ceremony of Bharati Dasan University in Tiruchirappalli. Will set to launch new projects worth over 198.5 billion rupees. In women's cricket, India looked to salvage some pride as they face dominant Australia in the third and final ODI in Mumbai. Over a dozen people were killed and more were injured in an earthquake that hit Japan on New Year's Day. Authorities in the island nation struggled to assess the full extent of a disaster that wrecked buildings and roads and left thousands without power in freezing temperatures. Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida has issued instructions to deliver necessary supplies to those affected by the quake.
We have been making all efforts to gather information since yesterday evening, but the blockage of roads means it's extremely difficult to access the northern part of the Noto Peninsula. An inspection from the above via helicopter has shown widespread damage, including roads cut off, landslides and fires. Now that the tsunami warning has been lifted, we will be able to secure sea transport routes, and we have been working continuously since last night to mobilize not only the land transport but also air and sea transport to get the necessary supplies and rescue personnel to the area.
The Japan Meteorological Agency warned local residents of possible further quakes during the next few days. The Japanese Met said there is a 10 to 20% chance of another similar-sized earthquake striking within the next week. The weather officials have so far measured 149 quakes in the region since 7 GMT on 1st January.
From past examples, the likelihood that similar earthquakes will occur following a large earthquake is 10 to 20%. Therefore, please be cautious of earthquakes up to Shindo 7 in areas where powerful tremors took place for up to a week following the January 1st earthquake.
Japan has meanwhile dispatched thousands of army personnel, firefighters and police officers to the worst-hit area in the relatively remote Noto Peninsula. The rescue efforts, however, have been hindered by badly damaged and blocked roads, and one of the area's airports has been forced to close due to runway cracks. Many rail services and flights into the area have also been suspended. Flights and mobile phone coverage were reportedly disrupted, while many convenience stores were shut. Over 100 buildings and houses in Ishikawa Prefecture's Wajima city have been burnt from the massive fire that broke out from the powerful earthquake. Most of the fire has been contained, but flames and white smoke still can be seen rising from several areas on Tuesday morning. Firefighters are working to rescue local people who are believed to be trapped under a 7-storied building that had collapsed from the quake. The East Japan Railway Company has suspended all Shinkansen services on the Jotsu and Hokuriku lines throughout Ishikawa Prefecture after a series of powerful earthquakes up to a preliminary 7.6 magnitude have been rocking central Japan's coast since Monday afternoon. The Shinkansen, better known as bullet train, is a network of high-speed railway lines in Japan. According to reports, passengers of a suspended Kagayaki Shinkansen train bound for Kanazawa left the train and took other routes after they received an emergency alarm via their mobile phones. Currently, there is no prospect for resumption of operations, according to the Japanese Railway Authority. The United States is ready to provide any necessary assistance to Japan following the earthquake that struck central Japan on Monday. In a statement, President Joe Biden said, and I quote him, "As close allies, the United States and Japan share a deep bond of friendship that unites our people. Our thoughts are with the Japanese people during this difficult time." Britain also extended its support to quake-hit Japan and is monitoring the developments following the 7.6 magnitude earthquake that struck the central parts of the country on Monday. In a statement, Britain's Prime Minister Rishi Sunak said that Prime Minister Fumio Kishida is a great friend of the UK. "My thoughts are with all those affected by the earthquakes in Japan, which have caused such terrible damage." Now, the quake comes at a sensitive time for Japan's nuclear industry, which has faced fierce opposition from some locals since the 2011 earthquake and tsunami that triggered nuclear meltdowns in Fukushima. The Nuclear Regulation Authority said no irregularities were found at nuclear plants along the Sea of Japan. Hokuriku Electric's Shika plant, the closest to the epicenter, had already halted its 2 reactors before the quake for regular inspections and saw no impact from the quake. Chip materials maker Kokusai Electric said it is investigating further, finding some damage at its factory in Toyama ahead of the planned resumption of operations on Thursday. All right, let's turn focus to Israel now. Israel's Supreme Court has struck down a judicial reform law that triggered nationwide protests last year. According to a Supreme Court statement, 8 out of the 15 judges had decided against the repeal of the reasonableness clause, which was adopted by Parliament last year. The government in July last year passed into law what is now known as the Reasonableness Bill. This removed the power of the Supreme Court and lower courts in Israel to cancel government decisions it deemed to be extremely unreasonable. The law caused widespread anger and division, prompting hundreds of thousands of protesters to take to the streets, calling for reforms to be scrapped. Update from Israel-Hamas conflict now. Israeli Defense Minister said that some of the Israeli communities north of Gaza Strip will be able to go back in the near future as military operations progress. Communities were evacuated in the wake of October 7 terrorist attack by Hamas.
In accordance with the recommendations given by the IDF and the defense establishment, we will soon be able to return the displaced communities home in areas within the range of 4 to 7 kilometers north of the Gaza Strip. The first group of 7 communities has already been decided, and they have received the message. The National Reconstruction Administration, Takuma, which is responsible for this national mission, will handle education and other issues, so a gradual return will be possible. In the first stage, 7 communities, and going forward, all the rest of the communities.
The United States Navy has ended the deployment of its Gerald R. Ford aircraft in the Eastern Mediterranean. In a show of regional deterrence and defense posture, the deployment of the U.S. carrier started in support of Israel after October 7 terrorist attack by Hamas. The carrier will now return to its home port in Virginia. U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin had extended the Ford's deployment 3 times in hopes that its presence would deter Iran and Iran-aligned groups, particularly Lebanon's Hezbollah, from attacking Israel. In the United States, hundreds of migrants from Texas arrived in Illinois on the first day of New Year. Now, this is along the Texas state policy of relocating asylum seekers to communities run by the Democrats. A total of 355 migrants arrived in Boeing 777 at the Chicago Rockford International Airport on Monday. Monday's flight is an apparent response to a Chicago city ordinance that fines bus companies who drop off migrants without notice. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson asked for more support from federal government due to heavy influx of migrants.
I've stood up 27 shelters. We are housing currently nearly 15,000 asylum seekers, providing mental care, health care, educating 4,500 students, while also creating a pathway to sustainability. But we cannot do this alone. We need more support from the federal government.
Meanwhile, Texas Governor Greg Abbott is sending thousands of migrants to Democrat-controlled cities further north to elevate the strain on its border cities and to pressure the Democrats.
Deliberate inaction has left Texas to fend for itself. The authors of the United States Constitution foresaw a situation when the federal government would be inattentive to states that faced challenges at their borders.
Welcoming new members in the BRICS bloc, Russian President Vladimir Putin showed commitment to promote all aspects of BRICS partnership in all the prominent areas. Putin announced that BRICS summit will take place in Kazan in October this year and said that Russia working on the modalities of a new category of BRICS partner country, pointing that 30 countries have shown interest and 200 events have been planned under the Russian presidency. A quick update on Russia-Ukraine war now. After an unprecedented attack on the Russian city of Belgorod on New Year's Eve, President Putin said that Moscow will intensify strikes on military targets in Ukraine. The attack killed 24 people and left over 100 wounded. During a visit to a military hospital, Putin said that no crime against civilians will rest unpunished. Further, he called the Belgorod hit a terrorist attack and repeated the claim that Ukraine is being used by the West to settle its problems with Russia. The attack came after Moscow launched a large-scale attack on Ukrainian cities. A Russian-installed official in the eastern region of Ukraine said shelling in the city of Donetsk killed 4 people on Monday, while Russia's air attacks on several Ukrainian regions killed a person. The head of the Donetsk region, Denis Pishilin, said 13 people were also injured in heavy shelling by Ukrainian forces at the center of Donetsk. In a statement, the Russian Foreign Ministry called the shelling of Donetsk a terrorist attack that was aimed at civilian infrastructure. Australia's Eagers Automotive encountered a recent cyber incident, unveiling unauthorized access to specific portions of its IT infrastructure by a third party. Now, this breach facilitated data access from the company's servers. The automotive retailer revealed that a limited number of individuals are at potential risk of data misuse based on current investigations. However, the precise count of compromised data recipients remains undisclosed. The cyber incident at Eagers Automotive echoes a broader trend in Australia, showcasing a surge in cyber breaches over the past year. In response to the escalating cyber threats, Australia established an agency in February to oversee cybersecurity investments and orchestrate responses to cyber attacks. Bangladesh's January 7th elections are headed for a predictable outcome because the main opposition, Bangladesh Nationalist Party, has refused to participate. The country's main opposition parties are boycotting the upcoming election as incumbent Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina rejected demands to step down and allow the polls to be held under a neutral interim government. In the last few months, tens of thousands of people have turned out for various protests, calling for Hasina to resign ahead of the elections. Many leaders of Bangladesh's main opposition parties and its supporters are currently jailed. U.S. energy giant ExxonMobil Corporation has formally exited the West Kurna 1 oil field in southern Iraq and handed over its operations to PetroChina as the lead contractor. Senior Iraqi oil officials met with executives from ExxonMobil, PetroChina and Basra Oil Company at the West Kurna 1 field near Basra. PetroChina holds the largest stake in the field after the departure of Exxon. The final settlement recently reached between Iraq's oil ministry and Exxon has served the interests of both the parties. Basim Mohammed, Deputy Oil Minister for Upstream, said. The Deputy Oil Minister also said that the government is keen to invite ExxonMobil to play a role in developing future energy projects. Giant waves and choppy waters in the western U.S. state of California over the weekend prompted evacuation orders amid fears of flooding. In Manhattan Beach, the pier remained closed as waves as high as 20 feet slammed into the shoreline. Residents in coastal communities were warned to stay off the beaches and coastal roadways. The National Weather Service in Los Angeles forecasts significant flooding in low-lying coastal areas with powerful waves and strong rip currents posing a risk of drowning and damage to structures. Heavy rains lashed parts of east of Australia on Monday, triggering flash flooding, inundating roads and worsening the situation of some residents reeling after the intense thunderstorms that hit the region over the Christmas holidays. The Australian regions were pounded by a wild weather system overnight, and more heavy rain is forecast until Tuesday morning. Thailand and China will permanently waive off visa requirements for each other's citizens from March. Southeast Asia's second largest economy, which relies heavily on tourism in September, waived entry requirements for Chinese tourists until February this year. The copyright of Disney's early Mickey Mouse has expired according to US law after 95 years, leaving way for the animation to enter the public domain. Mickey is the enduring symbol of multi-billion-dollar brand. It was conceived by illustrator and entrepreneur Walt Disney. The iconic character started life as the star of Steamboat Willie, a short cartoon released in 1928. Mickey Mouse has become a world-famous character, appearing on clothing, housewares, and even food. Over the last 90 years, numerous Disney theme parks have also popped up across the world. Modern versions of the character are still fully covered by copyright. We're heading for a short break, but still to come on this edition of DD India Live, we will give you an update on South Korea politics as the opposition chief was attacked. Ethiopia signs an agreement with Somaliland to secure sea access. And a New Year bonanza for people in Kosovo as they celebrate joining Europe's visa-free Schengen zone.
In a world that never stops, where information shapes our reality, one app stands out, helps you stay ahead of time. Introducing the DD India app, your gateway to a world of news right at your fingertips. Your most trusted source of news goes global, goes digital. Explore a world of options, top stories, live updates, in-depth analysis, and more. Stay informed wherever you are. Real-time alerts keep you ahead of the curve always. The DD India app, connecting you to the world one story at a time. Download now and explore the world of knowledge, insights, and authentic.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India Live. Let's get to more international updates. South Korea's opposition party chief Lee Jae-myung was attacked during a visit to the southern port city of Busan. Lee, the chief of the main opposition Democratic Party of Korea, was stabbed in the neck during a question and answer session with reporters after touring the construction site of a new airport on Busan's Gadok Island. Lee was airlifted by a fire department helicopter to the Busan National University Hospital. The assailant was subdued and arrested at the scene. South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol said that the attack on opposition party chief Lee Jae-myung was unacceptable and has ordered speedy investigation into the attack. South Korea police chief says team will be created for swift, thorough investigation. Meanwhile, South Korea's main opposition, Democratic Party, condemned the attack on Lee as an act of terror and a threat to democracy. Ethiopia has taken the first legal step on a path that could one day enable the landlocked country to gain access to the sea. Landlocked Ethiopia signed an initial agreement with Somalia's breakaway region of Somaliland to use its Red Sea port of Berbera. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed and Somaliland President Muse Bihi Abdi signed the Memorandum of Understanding in the Ethiopian capital, Addis Ababa. Ethiopia would be the first country to recognize Somaliland as an independent nation in due course. The agreement paves the way to allow Ethiopia to have commercial marine operations in the region by giving it access to a leased military base on the Red Sea. Somaliland would also receive a stake in state-owned Ethiopian Airlines. As a New Year bonanza, visas for Europe's open borders Schengen zone were waived off, and hundreds of people in Kosovo rushed to Pristina airport to travel to EU countries. Kosovo was the only country in the Western Balkans whose citizens still needed visas to travel to the EU, many of whose members are part of the program. The Schengen area allows more than 400 million people to travel freely between member countries without going through border controls. Kosovo declared independence from Serbia in 2008, but is still struggling to become a UN member state because of objections from Serbia, Russia and China. Aiming at enhancing interoperability through knowledge exchange in urban operations, India and the UAE are set to engage in their inaugural joint military exercise, Desert Cyclone 2024. Collaborative military exercises play a crucial role in constructive engagements, offering an opportunity for participating nations to exchange current tactical and technological practices. The 2-week-long exercise, scheduled from January 2nd to 15th, will unfold in the arid terrain of Rajasthan. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi visited the southern Indian state of Tamil Nadu. Prime Minister attended the 38th convocation ceremony of Bharati Dasan University, Tiruchirappalli. Prime Minister also conferred medals to the students. Also, Prime Minister addressed the students at the Bharati Dasan University about the rich history of Indian universities and how Indian universities are climbing the global rankings.
In the early part of the 20th century, people like Mahatma Gandhi, Pandit Madan Mohan Malaviya and Sir Annamalai Chettiar started universities. These were hubs of knowledge and nationalism during the freedom struggle. Similarly, one of the factors behind the rise of India today is the rise of our universities. India is setting records in economic growth at the fastest growing major economy. At the same time, our universities are also entering global rankings in record numbers.
Prime Minister will also inaugurate the new terminal building at Tiruchirappalli International Airport. Developed at a cost of more than 1,100 crore rupees, the 2-level new international terminal building has the capacity to serve more than 44 lakh passengers annually and about 3,500 passengers during peak hours. The new terminal hosts state-of-the-art amenities and features for passenger convenience. Kerala's Thrissur city witnessed a spectacle of mega Thiruvathira, where more than 2,000 women joined hands to present the traditional group dance of Malayali women. It was organized as a precursor to the mega event on 3rd January, where Prime Minister will be addressing a women rally of more than 2 lakh women. Also, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will visit Lakshadweep Islands, where he will touch down on the 2nd of January evening and will be there till 3rd of this month. In Lakshadweep, the Prime Minister will inaugurate, dedicate and lay the foundation stone of development projects worth $140 million. Our correspondent, Dibendu Mondal, is in Lakshadweep and puts the upcoming Prime Minister's visit into context for us.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be on a 2-day visit to the Lakshadweep Islands from 2nd to 3rd January. He will inaugurate several projects and also lay the foundation stone for projects worth $138 million for the development of the island. The Prime Minister, during his visit to the island territory, will inaugurate the Kochi-Lakshadweep optical fiber connection project. This aims to improve the internet connection throughout the island for better digital connectivity. This transformative project will increase the internet speed in the island by 100 times, enabling more faster and stable internet connection for telemedicine consultation, e-governance, digital banking, amongst many other benefits.
Not just this, the Prime Minister will also be inaugurating a thermal desalination plant that will be filtering out 1.5 lakh liters of this marine water and provide to the thousands of people living here in this island. This project in fact will be under the Jal Jeevan mission, where every household will be getting safe and clean drinking water. Not just this, again, the Prime Minister will also be inaugurating a solar power plant to provide electricity to the thousands of households here at this island who were earlier dependent on diesel gensets for their everyday electricity.
The people of the island are extremely happy with the Prime Minister visiting their island in the new year, and many have expressed their happiness over the visit.
We are very happy and very proud to come in our Lakshadweep first visit. And, I am very proud to see him in first time.
The Prime Minister will also lay foundation stone for the renovation of the primary healthcare centre at the island, while construction of 5 model Anganwadi centres will also be undertaken for the 5 islands of Lakshadweep. These transformative projects will change the face of the island and is also expected to give a boost to the tourism to the island of Lakshadweep. Dibyendu Mondal's report for DD India.
Up next, we get you updates from the world of sports now. In cricket, women's cricket, in fact, India will take on Australia in the third and the final ODI at the Wankhede Stadium in Mumbai. Having already conceded the 3-match series with back-to-back defeats, the Indian women's cricket team will be hoping to mount a fight back and salvage some pride before the action shifts to T20 series. India lost the opportunity to equalize the series, losing the second ODI by 3 runs. Indian skipper Harmanpreet Kaur has not been at her best with the bat in recent times. She had tough times during the test and first 2 ODIs versus Australia. Meanwhile, Richa Ghosh and Jemima Rodriguez have been in good form for India, but they need the openers to set a platform for them in power play. Australian opener David Warner makes an emotional appeal for return of his missing baggy green cap after it went missing during the journey from Melbourne to Sydney ahead of his farewell test. Warner will bid farewell to the longest format of the game with the 3rd test against Pakistan. All right, that's it in this edition of DD India Live. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X, and also Instagram. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Preeti Kaur signing off, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Live.